Alright, so I never do this. And I decided to do this because I wanted to record something. I just had that itch today. And so here we are. Now, admittedly, I wanted to do this last week. But the reason I didn't do it is because I ended up recording the video, but then my hard drive wiped. So that was annoying. So I didn't feel like re-recording it. And I was like, I'll just do it next week. But yeah, I never do these because I think they're kind of dumb and they change every week. And just as an example, when I did this last week, I had 3 of the top 5 teams I had in that lost this week. So that shows you what I know about what's going on in this league. But we'll just jump right into it. At number 32, I have the Tennessee Titans. Look, you kept it close against the Chargers last week, but it's a very, very, very young team. It's a poorly coached team, and there isn't much. And most of the time, you get demolished. Absolutely demolished. So yeah, the Titans, they're at 32. At 31, shouldn't be much of a surprise. I have the New York Jets. They were on a bye week last week, so hey, you didn't lose. That's something. But yeah, the Jets, they're not a good football team. Who knows how much Justin Fields has left for his job. Who knows how long he'll keep that job. Aaron Glenn, I mean, he got his first win. That's great. But, it's not a good team. And who knows what's going to happen here at the trade deadline. I am recording this before the trade deadline. So, it is what it is. At 30, I have the Cleveland Browns. Look, you're a bad team. Your offense is terrible. Your defense is really good. Last time we saw you, Myles Garrett had 5 sacks, and you still lost by 19 points. That should tell you all you need to know about how bad this team is. And number 29, I have the Miami Dolphins. Look, I don't know how many people watched that Thursday night game. I'll be honest, I only watched it for a half because that was all I needed to see. And I had the Dolphins higher on this list last week. I could not. No, they had to be this low. And admittedly, maybe I should have put them at 30. If I'm being real, I maybe could have had them above below the Browns. And realistically, I probably should have, but I don't. Anyways, yeah. I have the Dolphins at 29. They're terrible. Tua looks bad. Who knows if Mike McDaniels is going to be the coach next season? Probably not. Moving on, 28, we have the Raiders. Look, you put up a real good fight against the Jaguars. However, Geno Smith has been terrible. Pete Carroll, I mean, I don't want to say he's a bad coach because I don't think he is, but it's a bad team. All there really is there is Max Crosby and Brock Bowers. Other than that, it's pretty bad. Genty, yes, he's good, but he can't run behind that offensive line. It's not a good team, and again, who knows what they're going to do at the trade deadline. Moving on, 27, we have the New Orleans Saints. I mean, Tyler Shuck looked okay against the Rams. He looked okay. But, I mean, it's a bad team. You're keeping things competitive with teams for the most part. Past few weeks, not really, but for the most part, you've been pretty competitive. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a bad roster. And number 26, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Dude, the Bengals have such a good offense. It doesn't matter who you put under center, whether it's Joe Flacco, Joe Burrow, me. I mean, that offense can score 30 points. The problem is that they're going to give up 50. So I can't put them any higher than 26 for that reason. And number 25, I have the Commanders. Look, the Commanders, unfortunately, it's not the same team. It's not the same energy. Jaden Daniels got really badly hurt again, and that sucks for him. I hope he gets well very, very soon. But yeah, it sucks to see that the Commanders have fallen from grace. And their season, unfortunately, is pretty much done. At number 24, I have the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think there's a more frustrating team in all of football than the Atlanta Falcons. You get clobbered by the Dolphins, of all teams, at home, and then you proceed to go on the road, keep it close with the Patriots, who's one of the top teams in the NFL right now, and you lose because you missed an extra point. I mean, man. Falcons are so frustrating. Drake London did everything he could to win that game, and it wasn't enough. Who knows if Penix is going to be the quarterback next year? I think he should be. I think he's been pretty decent for the most part. But yeah, it's not a good... They're not good. I don't think they're a well-coached team. I'll put it that way. Number 23, I have the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, they're a feisty group, man. They may be 3-5, but all 5 of their losses have come from a one-score loss every time, and they've lost in the last minute or so in all of those games. So the Cardinals are not a bad... this team could very easily be 8-0 for crying out loud. And they just wallop the Cowboys, which I don't think is super impressive. But they still came out there after their bye week and walloped the Cowboys. So, give them some respect, man. I don't think they're that bad of a team, and they can definitely give some teams a run for their money. Maybe not for a playoff spot, per se, but at least keep things competitive. At number 22, I have the New York Giants. Look, I hated seeing Cam Skattebo go down a week ago. Him and Dart bring such a high energy to that team that I haven't seen from them in, 10 years, maybe more. So, yeah, it sucked to see him go down last week. But at the end of the day, the Giants, they're not a good team. I don't know if Dable is going to be the coach. I think he has a case to remain the coach. I like Dable as a coach, but who knows where they're going to go next season. Number 21, I have the Cowboys. If this team had a somewhat competent defense, they very easily could be a top 10 team in the league right now. And I'm not kidding, because Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind with last game notwithstanding, even though he didn't play poorly in that game or anything. But yeah, it's not a good... the defense is holding this team back from their true potential, man. And the opposite can be said for number 20, the Houston Texans. The defense is doing everything it can to will this team to victory, but the offense just simply is not performing. And now C.J. Stroud has a concussion. His status for next week is up in the air. And right now, I want to believe in this team just because they have the pieces on offense to be, a competitive unit. But man, I even picked them last week, and they kept it close against the Broncos, but the offense is just not good. It's not good. The offensive line is terrible, as I think we all expected it to be. And they're not a good team. Moving on to number 19, I have the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, look, people were writing off J.J. McCarthy after he had played 2 games, one of them being really bad, and yes, he played 1 good quarter. I get all that. But again, this dude has played 2 games. Let's not write him off yet. He came out against the Lions, and he looked pretty dang good. He looked pretty good, and, I wouldn't rule out the Vikings. They are a very well-coached team. And if J.J. McCarthy, I think, can be serviceable to maybe slightly above average, I think the Vikings can absolutely make a run for the playoffs. Number 18, I have the Chicago Bears. I have the Bears here. They put up 47 points of offense last week. Granted, it was against the Bungles defense, and they didn't even need Rome Odunze either. He had 0 targets in that game. But I have the Bears here because the defense, it scares me. The Bears just seem like they can't play as a complete team because either the offense is playing really well like we saw against the Bungles and the defense is playing poorly, or the defense is playing well and the offense isn't performing, like we saw against the Ravens, for example. So, I mean, it just feels like this team can't play as a complete unit. Moving on, at number 17, we have the Carolina Panthers at 5-4, knocking off the Packers last week. Look, man, the Panthers, although I'm not sure they're going to make the playoffs, I'm rooting for them. I hope they make the playoffs because I think it'd be a fun storyline. But, the Panthers, they have a good running game, and I think they can keep things competitive. And, Rico Dowdle has been amazing for that team, and I don't think that's an understatement. And, if the Panthers can keep things going the way they are, Bryce Young, he only has to be a game manager, and this team can be competitive, because their defense hasn't been that bad outside of 2 really bad games. At number 16, halfway done, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason I have the Jaguars here, they beat the Raiders. That's all fine and good. But I couldn't put them any higher because of all the injuries they have, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I know BTJ was dealing with something. He obviously played on Sunday. Who knows if that's going to limit him in the future. Travis Hunter was put on IR. And, the offense just isn't consistent enough for me to trust them completely. I think the defense is pretty good, but the offense just is not consistent enough for me to warrant putting them any higher. At number 15, I have the Baltimore Ravens, and for me, I think this is the most difficult team to rank because, they're sitting at 3-5, they're getting healthier, and they have a favorable schedule. And I don't think they were ever a bad team. I never once said, Ravens are done. I never said that. And so, it's hard for me to rank them super duper high right now, just given where they are in the standings. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens found their way in the top 10 here in the next couple weeks. Moving on, at number 14, we have the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, they didn't look too bad. I'm going to be honest. They beat the Giants. I think that was expected of them. But you know what? They're still winning football games, even with all the injuries they have. Michael Williams, unfortunately, now going to be out for the season. Of course, Fred Warner. Brock Purdy has been hurt. Nick Bosa is hurt. I mean, everyone on that team is dead right now. And the 2 top wideouts still hurt. I mean, right now, who knows where this team is going to go. Moving on, number 13, we have Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, knocking off the Colts, getting 6 turnovers on the best offense in the league. Very impressive. Do I think it is sustainable? Not to that level. Not 6 turnovers level. But I think that if the defense can continue to be the way that it played last week, I mean, this team can win a playoff game, but that's a big if. A big if. Number 12, we have the LA Chargers. Joe Alt, unfortunately, going to miss the rest of the season. That is a huge, catastrophic loss. You already don't have Rashawn Slater. And in all honesty, the Chargers, Justin Herbert is such a good player. You're already dealing with injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Hampton, Najee, Quentin Johnston is banged up right now. So, I mean, Herbert right now is, I don't want to say single-handedly keeping that team afloat, but he basically is. So, yeah, I think that the Chargers are a good team. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they are a good team. Moving on, we've got number 11, the Green Bay Packers. Oh, where do I begin? The reason I don't have the Packers in the top 10 is because, yes, they only have 2 losses on the season, but both of their losses are really, really bad. And I mean, the offense just didn't get anything going against the Panthers. They didn't get anything going against the Browns. Now, I do think the Packers are still a very good team, and I do expect them to at least be in the divisional round of the playoffs. But those two losses are very glaring. Very, very glaring. At number 10, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, I wanted to put them higher, but after last week's loss to the Buffalo Bills, I can't do it. The Chiefs, they're probably going to make the playoffs. I'd be surprised if they didn't. They're probably going to finish like 12-5, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs won the good game there in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes, he didn't look like himself. And overall, just the Bills kind of suffocated them on defense. And speaking of the Bills, they're at number 9. And I wanted to put the Bills higher, but I didn't because I want to see more from this Buffalo defense. I don't want this to be a one-off performance. I want this to be just an overall good unit because they have that capability. They just have not shown it much this season. And so if the Bills can prove to me that they are a legit defense, then yeah, I will buy stock in the Bills. But until then, I can't. Number 8, I have the Detroit Lions. And the Lions, to me, are... They're a bit concerning, I will say. The Lions concern me a bit. And I say that because, obviously, you lost to the Vikings. I don't want to put too much stock and say the Lions are in trouble or anything. But that was a pretty bad loss to take. I mean, you had your golden opportunity to take first place in the division after the Packers lost, and you didn't. I mean, that's a tough loss to take. And the defense, I mean, the Vikings honestly dominated them. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the reason the score was as close as it was because Jameson Williams had a long touchdown late in that game. So, I mean, without that touchdown, the score is 27-17. At number 7, I have the Indianapolis Colts. That was a rough game. I mean, let's keep it 1,000. That was a rough game. The Colts, they turned the ball over 6 times. They didn't give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. It was a rough game all around for that Colts offense especially. Because the Steelers offense didn't really do much. Because they didn't have to, because the Colts kept turning the ball over. I want to think this is a one-off. I hope it's a one-off. But until then, I have to put him down here at 7, and I really wanted to keep him higher. But given how the 6 teams ahead of them are playing, like the Denver Broncos, who are at 6, I can't put them higher. Yeah, the Denver Broncos are at 6, and I couldn't put them... I really, really wanted to put them in the top 5. I really did. The ultimate reason as to why I didn't put them in the top 5 is because their offense is too inconsistent for me. I think they are a very good team. I think they need a true number 1 receiver. I love Courtland Sutton, but I think he is definitely more of a number 2 receiver, if you ask me. I think they need a better complement. Not that Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims or any of them have been bad or anything, but I do think that they need a true bona fide number 1 receiver. At number 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I couldn't put them any higher for pretty much the same reason as the Broncos. You know, the past couple weeks, last time we saw them, they didn't look good against the Lions, and they didn't do much against the Saints, but they still won that game. And that's why I have them here at 5, because teams ahead of them that I might have had ahead of them lost. And so, yeah, the Bucs are up here at 5, but I gotta see more from the offense upcoming. And number 4, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Man, this team looks awesome. They're really fun to watch. Sam Darnold, such a great story. I'm super happy for him. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is knocking it out of the park. Which, speaking of which, for any of my Pirate fans, you may know, Kenan Smith-Njigba, former Pirate, So shout out to him. Anyways, Seahawks, they look really great right now. And that's all I have to say about them. They look great. I'm hoping they can keep it up. And number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, they once again had a bye week. And, they looked fine. They looked great the last time we saw them. They played the Giants a couple weeks ago, and before then they played the Vikings, and the offense was clicking in both those games. I know that was a concern early on in the season, but since then the Eagles' offense has looked pretty good, man. So if the Eagles can keep up that top form, they're going to be really hard to stop. And number 2, I have the New England Patriots. And that may seem a bit high, and I get it. But the reason I have the New England Patriots here is that Drake May can look human, and they still win. Now, granted, that was mainly because the Falcons are the Falcons. But still, it shows that this team can win without needing Drake May to carry the load. That's scary. That's super scary, man. They're a well-coached team. They're a well-oiled machine right now. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and we'll see how high that winning streak can get. They have a tough game against the Buccaneers, but you know what? If any team can do it, it's them. However, there is one team I think that's better than them right now, and that is the LA Rams. The Rams, they are a well-oiled machine. Matt Stafford, he has a back injury. You wouldn't know it from watching him. I mean, the dude is playing at an MVP level right now. He quietly, I think, he might lead the league in touchdown passes. I'm not totally sure on that. I'd have to look at the stats. If not, he's at least in the top 5. I mean, the dude has quietly been playing like an MVP candidate. And the Rams, they're tearing things up. Kyren Williams, he's a great sucker punch to that defense. Of course, Puka Nacua, he's great. They have a great pass rush. They can shut down the run. They can shut down the pass. They can do everything right. Although I would worry, I would be a bit concerned about special teams. But that's a minor nitpick. But yeah, other than that, those are my power rankings, and they'll probably be wildly wrong. And I am doing a very bold thing by sharing an opinion on the internet, but you know what? At this point, who cares?